the Sooners kind of formed this new search committee to find and recommend a new athletic director to replace Joe Castiglione. And so Joe C. has been the athletic director for Oklahoma since 1998. Again, dating all the way back to the beginning of the BCS era. That's how long he's been with Oklahoma. Plans to retire June 2028, which I don't know exactly what this transition period is going to look like. But, right now, Castiglione, he's going to stay at Oklahoma as the AD, and he will be there and stay on as an advisory role. He's still going to be there, probably even as an advisory role. And from what I'm hearing, to this committee even. He's going to be helping the committee with their insights, kind of focusing, even fundraising as an AD. He's going to still be doing all of his normal athletic director duties until this transition period, whatever that looks like. And so I kind of wanted to take a look at the committee itself and break down the committee and talk about how the committee will look and what it's supposed to kind of be. Because I think this committee, it struck a lot of people as kind of odd. A lot of people were wondering if this is how it's supposed to work. How is this kind of all put together? And so I kind of want to break that down, go through here, kind of talk about this committee. And so first, kind of mentioning that this committee, it's made up of 12 different members with kind of diverse backgrounds. And what this is, it kind of ensures a well-rounded perspective, something that, it's going to get an opinion on just about every part of being an athletic director as you possibly can. I will say, as a guy that covers Oklahoma baseball for OU Insider, one thing that I can say is I don't see any baseball representation in there. We need to throw Skip in there, throw somebody. I don't know who you want to throw in. Maybe you want to take Kyler Murray in there for the baseball side or something. I don't know. But I do feel like there needs to be a baseball representative in there. I'm going to throw that out there for my baseball fans because I do think that there needs to be a baseball representative, and there just isn't. But anyways, it's the idea is to get as many diverse people with different opinions and get them all together to look and try to build up what they want in an athletic director, throw in their opinion, their 2 cents, and try to throw all of that together to where you get the best well-rounded athletic director, and then try to shape that into existence. And that's kind of what this is. And so there, again, 12 different members. It's chaired by Randall Stevenson, who's the chair of football and also a special advisor to OU's president and athletic director. So the members are going to include, and I'll throw this up here too and go through the names of everybody out there. So the members are, let me change this a little bit so we can kind of see this a little better. Might not be much better right there. Let's do it that way. We can see that a little bit better. Let me know if that's too small for you guys to see, but at least we can see everybody. I don't know. We might be able to see that just fine. Yeah, you can see that just fine. We'll keep it on the bigger screen like that. Anyways, this committee, it's you've got university leaders like vice presidents, executive affairs, got general counsel, student affairs, advancement, human resources. You've got everybody. You've got a faculty representative, you've got a staff representative, student representatives. You've got former OU coaches, stars, and you've even got outside designees. Like Amy Noah from the OU Foundation. So I'm going to go through the list of everybody that's on this committee, and then we'll kind of get into how they're going to work together, what they're going to do, and kind of what this looks like. But first, starting off with Randall Stevenson, again, the chair of football, special advisor. Then you've got Holly Hunt, who's the vice president, executive affairs, chief of staff. Armand Paliota. I don't know some of these names and who they are exactly, but vice president, general counsel, David Surratt, do know that name, vice president for student affairs and dean of students. You also got Bob Stoops in there, which Oklahoma fans should be pretty happy. Oklahoma football fans should be pretty happy about that. And then you've also got, so he's going to be the executive director and then also special advisor to the athletics director. Amy Noah as the vice president and the chief advancement officer. From the OU Foundation, designee from the outside of the university is what she is. And then you've also got Steve Gensler, Gene and Elena Ward's family chair, chair-in-law, president associate. Sorry, that's kind of small on my screen, so hard for me to read that from this far away. But anyways, you've also got Cassie Kral, who's going to be who is the associate registrar, that's kind of your staff representative there. And you got Kinsey Hansen. Oklahoma softball fans know who she is. That's the student representative, and then former softball player, former softball star. And then you've got Sam Bradford, former star quarterback, obviously. And that's just kind of one of your designees from outside the university, but still kind of within the university. You've also got Sherry Cole, former University of Oklahoma head women's basketball coach. And then you've got Dorothy Anderson, vice president, chief human resources officer, who's going to be the ex officio member. So anyways, all of those names on there for you to read through. I probably didn't need to read through all of those, but if anybody's listening on audio, they probably couldn't see that, obviously. Couldn't see that. So they want to probably hear all those names, even though some of those names will mean nothing to you. Anyways, these 12 names, it's just a bunch of people, again, kind of with diverse backgrounds, different opinions, different views on what they would want from an athletic director to kind of mash all that together. And of course, like I said, Joe Castiglione himself, he's going to advise the group and he'll be there, but he's not going to be a voting member. So he still would be part of this process of maybe helping find resources. The process is kind of involved kind of reviewing resumes, looking at nominations for potential candidates, which nominations could come from anywhere. It could be people throwing their name in the hat. It could be Joe Castiglione himself throwing a name towards them. It could be maybe just, finding somebody in an outside group where to send a name and say, hey, you should probably look at this. It could be any kind of potential candidates, and kind of looking at the nominations. They're going to conduct interviews, narrow down the options. Ultimately, they're going to try to aim to find somebody who can lead Oklahoma in that AD role and leading the athletics program. And especially when you think of navigating new big changes like transitioning to the SEC, by the time that they take over, it'll probably already basically be transitioned. So then to be able to uphold that transition and still be as tough as the rest of the conference and to fit in with the rest of the conference. But then you think of things like NIL and transfer portal and everything that goes into that. There's so much. And the school even knows even more than we do about things like the House versus NCAA settlement and even others that may not even be known to the public. So they're going to consider all of this, and they want to have somebody that's going to be able to really be able to adapt to all of these changes and put their school in the best interest. And really everybody that's on this list has huge interest in Oklahoma doing well, whether they're a former athlete, former coach, or currently working with the school. They want the school to be the best. So once someone is selected, the new athletic director will kind of take over and kind of transition Joe Castiglione out. And again, I don't know what this looks like. If Joe Castiglione, let's say that they hire somebody by this time next year and he's ready to go in 2026, if Joe Castiglione would stick around and help and kind of train him and then transition himself out, or if he would just say, all right, I'm going to hand it over to you. I'll show you the ropes real quick, and it's going to be a 6-month period, and I'm out the door by mid 2026, maybe late 2026, early 2027. I don't know. I think that's something that we'll kind of know more as we get closer to time, but that's definitely something that I won't have the answers for you on that. How are all these people going to work together? What are they going to do? It's pretty much this entire committee is going to be operating as a team. It's going to be under obviously Stevenson's leadership, kind of holding different meetings, discussing the candidates, making decisions on who it is. They're going to collaborate, kind of sharing their expertise. For example, former athletes like and coaches like Coach Stoops. You got Sam Bradford, even Coach Cole. You got Kinsey Hansen. All of them might focus specifically on the sports needs and what they think they'll need in the realm of sports and in the athletic department itself. After all, it's the athletic director. Then you got other university admins who are going to be focusing more maybe on the legal side of things, the financial side of things. They're also going to be looking at the student related aspects of things. So that's why you get such a diverse group. You've got, the faculty and staff that's going to kind of rep and kind of ensure the academic, the operational balance and everything. They're going to review all of the applications together. And I'm sure everybody is probably going to have their hands on all of these applications and know who it is. So I'm sure plenty of Oklahoma fans and people around the program are going to be asking Kinsey Hansen, hey, who was that? Who's up in the running? Anytime the Bob Stoops is in front of the media. So any names pop out to you on that list that you guys are going through? I'm sure that's going to happen with just about any of these members on the committee. But anyways, I'm sure they're all going to kind of go through that. They might conduct joint interviews. They might just do it with a specific group of people doing the interviews, but they all get to chip in and maybe throw in what kinds of questions are asked. That's kind of up for them to decide, obviously, and I won't know that, but it's going to form something like that. And then again, going back to Joe C and what he's going to do in that advisory role, he's probably going to put some input in and provide some sort of continuity between them all, and maybe give some kind of guidance to OU's transition, or even give them challenges. Challenges to look at. Hey, this is the hardest things that I've had to do. These are the things ahead that I'm not looking forward to having to try to go through. And he's going to be able to kind of give guidance based on that and try to help them in some ways there. And ultimately, the committee, they're going to have to go through and they're going to recommend the finalists to the OU presidents or even the board for the final hiring. I don't know exactly who will be on I don't, maybe they all take their vote on who they think should be the hire, and then it's up for the decision of the university to make that decision. But ultimately, they're probably going to try to narrow everything down, get them down to the final three, and hand it off. But they're going to look for the best fit. And I do like the fact that they go with such a diverse group, so many different people in this group that have different interests, different areas of expertise. I think that's pretty important. And I was seeing a lot of kind of questions about this committee being selected and kind of comments, concerns. Like, is this normal? Do you normally put a recently graduated softball catcher or a former women's basketball coach, former Heisman Trophy quarterback, former football coach? Do you really put people like this on that committee? And yeah, I mean, I looked into it, and I've seen several schools do something similar to this, for kind of a search committee, if you will. Not necessarily, it's not really the hiring committee. It's not the committee that's going to make the final decision. It's the ones that are going to try to search and give their input. And some of them, you think of Kinsey Hansen, for example. She might not actually be in all of the meetings or really have a whole lot of input, but they're going to take her input and use that for what she's worth and bounce ideas off of her. Hey, you were the most recent of any of us to be an athlete of the school. What are you looking for? And specifically even for softball, or how do you think that could apply to other school or to other sports? So there's a lot that goes into that. And so it is normal to try to have student representation with Kinsey and Sam, so kind of have that a little bit in there. And then of course have a diverse group, and usually it goes anywhere from like 9 to 15 different people that you all kind of bunch into this search committee. That way it kind of gives some fairness to the search and also thoroughness to the search too. I think that's really important. A lot of schools even use an external source, an external firm that might help them go through this hiring process, narrowing it down and trying to find a candidate, even interviewing a candidate. So, this is pretty normal from what I've seen in the past. And so, that this is something that I like this structure. And I think this structure, it's going to kind of avoid any kind of bias in who Oklahoma ends up hiring in at AD. I think it should eliminate some of that. So a lot of fun seeing this, and I'm very excited for this search committee and the names that are going to be coming up here in the next few months. It's going to be a lot of fun.